Welcome to episode 5 of the Hike or Die Outdoor Adventure podcast. I am joined by my hammock-loving friend Craig.
Hey there.
And we have a very, very special guest today, all the way from Norway. And I can't wait to get into this episode. So Craig, play that funky music. Guys, how you doing? Welcome back to another podcast. Thanks for joining us. Very quickly, thanks for all your support so far. And I also want to quickly use this opportunity to say thanks to the sponsors of the show, who are Bluey Merino, where our story ends, yours is just beginning. That's who supplies all of our Bluey Merino clothing, for want of a better word, undergarments, overgarments, everything. Also want to say thanks and a bit of a shout out to Rios Gear. They provide us with floating, polarized, 100% UV protection sunglasses, and they do float. I've tested it a whole bunch of times, and I'm thankful to still have my sunnies. Topo Maps Plus. Go deeper into the backcountry. We use this app on our phones and absolutely love it, so check it out. Last but not least, Caribbean Australia, makers of absolutely fantastic and rugged outdoor luggage, outdoor gear, backpacks and stuff like that. So thanks very much to all of those sponsors. We do appreciate that, and encourage you guys to check them out. Craig, how you doing, mate?
Hey, Tom. Doing good. Doing great, man. Thanks.
You been well?
I've been really well, yes.
We have not spoke too much, really, in comparison to normal. Between the last podcast and this one, we've not spoken that much.
No, did I say something wrong? Is that what it is?
I don't think you were at fault.
You had a birthday.
Oh, I did. That was,
happy birthday.
3 days ago. Thanks, mate.
All the best. Many happy returns.
Thank you. Normally, year on year, I run up this particular mountain and I try and beat my time, but my birthday fell on a Monday and so I didn't do it. I might have to try and do that. Yeah, anyway.
Had to go to work and stuff, you know?
I had to be an adult. And it was rubbish. Where was I? Now, have you been getting out? I know you have. That was a loaded question. Tell me about it.
Have you been getting out of it? Yeah, you really inspired me, mate. So I don't know if I told you. I might have told you. Yeah, I think I did that straight after last podcast. I went to the same gorge that we were talking about.
Yeah, you did.
Pretty much the next day, I think. I just decided I'd go out there and
that sound is, I'm sorry, that sounds is me pouring a glass of water. Just to be clear.
Sounds like
that. Continue.
It sounds like the waterfalls.
Oh, yeah, I was doing sound effects. Foley.
Sound effects.
And then did you sip a cool glass of Glacier Mountain water?
I must have. Yeah, I saw some rocks stacked up that looked like your handiwork.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Some cans.
Might have been.
I don't know if I do that. I don't know if I did. Oh,
one of them had a big phallic stick coming out the top. That wasn't yours?
No, that was not. I did not do the phallic sticks. I do I actually, oh man, I don't want to go into it right now, but I read this article on cans.
Right.
About how they were almost graffiti of the natural world.
Yeah, and I must say, I have never seen you do it. I just imagined that maybe that was you the week before, but, you know.
Just doing yoga or something, and while I was doing that, and then fire twirling and playing bongos. No, and I've never I think I might have done it once when I was really concerned that on the way back on a trip that I was actually going to miss the exit to where you get out of the riverbed. I think I've done it once, but I didn't do it there. And
I see. Yep.
It's a topic as I said, I won't get into it, but I kind of agree. I don't like going to a place and seeing everyone stacking up rocks, and I then I don't feel like I'm the first person there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
All
why
right.
I thought they must have been yours, mate, from the week before.
No, I'm not.
Maybe someone else.
I'm going to leave my cranky pants off on that and let you continue with your story.
Yeah. No, I managed to get the drone like just hovering, like a follow me mode, which I've been wanting to get working.
That's cool.
So it was.
Did you get some good footage?
Oh, I wouldn't say it was good footage, but it was certainly.
You got some footage.
It was a start.
You got footage.
It was a start.
The drone flew and you landed it safely.
Yeah, so I just had to practice that. That was cool. And then I have been.
Did you didn't stay out the night, did you?
No.
Came back, yeah.
No, and I recently went out, and what I did have a trip planned, and some things transpired that meant I wasn't going to stay out this time. So what I chose to do last weekend was great. Actually, it was really fantastic to set up for some sunset shots and moonscape shots up at the glass house, and I just didn't walk too far from the vehicle and just had a really relaxing night or evening on my own. Just cooked some food and had some coffee and just watched the sun go down. And I just realised how easy that is to do and why I don't do it more often.
Yeah.
Just came home, got home about 11 or something or 10 and just felt really good. You know, and slept in a nice bed.
Do you mean great. So you got home at the next morning?
No, that night. Just came home after the sun had gone down.
I had a very similar experience at very close to there, where I sat and I watched the sun go down, and then I found myself still sitting there for another hour and a half, just on the warm rocks. Yeah, and just thinking, well, I don't actually have anything. I don't have anywhere I need to be. I don't have anything I need to do. Yeah, I'm just going to sit and enjoy. That's pretty cool.
I'd set up with the glasshouse mountain silhouette against a nice sunset, and just as it was dipping down, this little, I think it's the last quarter moon that we've been seeing the last few nights, just came out to shine right in my shot. And it was really, like, I only had my 50mm lens. I couldn't get a wide angle, and it was right in my shot, so I just snapped it, and I was really, really happy. Like, that was what I wanted to do there. So
awesome. Have you graded those images?
Yeah.
You happy with them?
Yeah, I've got a few. A couple that were lighter, and then one where it's almost pitch dark. It's beautiful. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check them out.
Yeah.
Or maybe we should chuck one or two up on our Instagram account.
Mate, that would be nice. Go for it.
Cool, man. I managed to get out myself 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
I went down to a cabin, and a very good friend of mine's purchased 6,000 acres of the most remote, insane countryside. It is absolutely spectacular. I'm going to stop talking about it now because I just can't convey how amazing it is. Like a river that runs through the center of the whole place. And gorges is so deep that it takes an hour to hike down to the river and stuff like that. It's just it's epic. So we drove down there and spent the first night in a cabin, just this old shack that's there. Yeah. And the next day we hiked out down the river the whole day and set up camp just in the riverbed. It's quite dry, and hiked back the next day. But it was just a very cool experience, and it was good to be out again. It was nice and cold, nice and crisp. It was good to get there.
Very nice, man. Whereabouts is this? Like Queensland?
No, it's on the border of Queensland and New South Wales. Yeah, so pretty fresh. I think we probably hit about. I think we might have hit 0 or at least 1 or 2 degrees. It's hard to tell. I mean, when you're looking at temperatures on apps, they're pretty much taken from the nearest township, which is not at the bottom of a gorge that hasn't seen any sun all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always think you got to knock a few degrees off.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, it's just what I needed. I absolutely needed that. I feel very refreshed, and I've got another 2-week road trip coming up through central Queensland through some real dry, arid country, which is going to be a huge contrast from what I've just done. Yeah, so we're really looking forward to that.
Oh, nice.
Going to be breaking the camera out a lot on that whenever I get an opportunity. That's it, man. Things are happening. We're moving.
Yeah, good.
Mate, I'm going to skip straight to what everybody is waiting for, and that is the winners of the Bluey Merino giveaway competition.
Yeah.
Notice I said winners then.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It was meant to be a winner, and our amazing friends at Bluey Merino said to me this week, we've picked out a winner. And then they said, you know what? We think we're going to just pick out another one. So they actually picked out 2 people. So if you cast your mind back, so any of the ladies, women, girls out there that entered that competition with Bluey Merino by jumping on their website, they've picked 2 winners. And what I'll do, by the time this podcast comes out, I'll actually contact you individually. They gave me your email addresses. And just so that I can kind of hook you guys up, get the right sizes, and get those shirts out to you. So they've won a 100% merino tops, kind of similar to the ones that we get around in, except slightly more feminine. Slightly. So first winner is, I'm not going to read out the surnames for obvious reasons, Amy. And her surname starts with a W. So if your name is Amy and your surname starts with a W, there's a pretty big chance it's you, but I will confirm via email.
That's exciting.
It's pretty exciting. And the second winner is Lynn, and your surname starts with the letter M. So thanks so much, Amy and Lynn. I'm so happy that you guys have won a prize, and I'm so happy that it's Bluey Merino gear, because I know that you're just going to absolutely fall in love with it. And thanks so much to Bluey Merino for not only throwing up one winner,
two up,
man.
That's cool.
Yeah, so thanks for that, guys. Absolutely fantastic competition, and thanks for making that happen. Our next topic, we have literally just got off a very long but thoroughly enjoyable Skype conversation with a lad called Oddbjorn. He is a guy from Norway that I accidentally stumbled across on YouTube maybe a year ago, maybe not quite a year ago, but he not only is he a fantastic landscape photographer, which I think is of great value to all the listeners that like to drag a camera around, but he's just a really interesting guy, and some of the locations he films. I mean, you've seen some of the videos, Craig.
Mate, I've just got on board and found it incredible and inspiring. I can't wait to get out and just, it inspires me to go and do the same thing, take some photos, and
yeah, it really does. I mean, he kind of he documents his travels, and then at the same time he's focusing on composing these great shots. And I'm not saying that whole theory or that hasn't been done to death by other people, but Oddbjorn he's just a cool dude. I referred to him as the David Lee Roth of Norway landscape photography. And I'm not going to tell you what he said to that, because I'm going to let you listen to it. It was quite funny. Look, he's an absolute top bloke, and I'm not going to hold you up any longer. But Craig, unless you've got anything to add.
No, let's have a listen.
Yeah, let's have a listen. Let's show you guys that interview. And thanks so much for listening, guys. I really hope you enjoy this little chat with Oddbjorn as much as we enjoyed recording it. Thanks, guys. Hang on. First things first. I'm Tom. That's Craig.
Hey, how you going?
This one's Craig.
You're Tom, Craig. All right.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah. I'm the creep on YouTube, mostly talking to you. And Craig's the guy that I do all the hiking with and stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Now, tell us, how do we pronounce your name?
You You don't. It's hard.
Okay, good, excellent, good stuff.
Oddbjorn.
Oddbjorn. Is
Yeah,
that
that's perfect.
Thanks.
Oddbjorn.
So
Oddbjorn.
Is that whole word your name, your first name?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure.
It's
because of the cultural difference. I didn't know if your name was Björn and you thought it was funny to put Odd in front of it or something. Because you're a quirky guy, crazy guy.
I'm joking because Björn means bear in Norwegian.
Right.
And Odd it actually means pointy in Norwegian, like a spear point.
Okay.
So it's kind of a spear bear.
Right.
I'd say it's more like strange bear.
Strange bear. Yeah, so would I. Yeah, after seeing your videos. I'm just kidding. So is that your that's what name you were born with, or is that just a YouTube name?
That's my birth name.
Real name. Okay,
Sweet.
cool. Hey, awesome, man. Well, let me hear it again.
Oddbjorn.
Oh, that's with the accent as well. Oddbjorn.
Oddbjorn, yeah.
Is that okay?
We'll try.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's the weird sound.
Which one? The Björn?
Yeah, Björn.
Bjorn.
It's that letter we have.
Yeah,
up in,
I'm looking at it right now. So I got O with a. This is fantastic, buddy. It's awesome to have you on the podcast. I know that recently we attempted to get you on, but I know I gave you late notice, and anyway, it didn't work out. But I'm just so excited to have you on today.
Likewise. Glad to be on board.
Fantastic. We have kind of alluded to you in the past in one of our podcasts that we were hopefully going to talk to you one day. What I was thinking last night was I thought that when I think of you as the David Lee Roth of Norway landscape photography.
Yeah.
Who's David Lee Roth?
Okay. I thought that might happen.
That didn't work.
David Lee Roth was the lead singer of Van Halen for a while.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So he's
Van Halen.
Yeah. It's good, right?
That's good. Yeah, I definitely have this 80s vibe going on.
Yeah,
with
you
the
do.
hair.
You do. I remember.
I'm thinking I'm more like Dylan.
Oh, yeah, okay. I can see that now as soon as you mention it.
For sure.
The funny thing, when we were talking over Instagram chat last night, and you were telling me about your Skype profile, and you said, it's the one of me playing banjo, and I thought, of course it is. I can see in the background of your screen there, you got a banjo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw a banjo in the background.
Yeah,
on one
man.
of your...
Let me just
Yeah.
move that down. I'm in the
Oh,
way.
you're in the way, dude.
There it is.
There it is. There it is.
Some kind of synergy there. I'm just putting it out there that maybe before we might have a banjo officer.
Banjo.
Is that your banjo, Tom, or is
no,
it
it's
Craig's?
Craig's. No.
That's right.
Yeah. I've always been more of a drummer than a guitarist.
Very cool.
That's actually that. Now the reason we got you on, well, there's many reasons we got you on. Let's face it, but one of the reasons is obviously the landscape photography / adventure stuff, and I'll get way into that. But also, I've seen some of your band stuff, some of the music.
Really?
Yeah, I had a look at that way back. I can't remember how I found it, but it was really impressive. Very, I'll have to show it to you, Craig. I should have given you the heads up before this. It's really, interesting. Yeah.
Cool.
I would say it's very technical too. Yeah. So yeah, that was awesome, and it kind of just, it just adds to your '80s kind of thing. Not that it's '80s music, just adds to the creativity, I think. Yeah.
They were really creative in the 80s.
Yeah, they certainly were. Yeah, big fans. So, what do you call yourself? Are you? I get the impression that you're kind of full time? Are you trying to do photography and film as your full time job at the moment?
I do. I do most of my money comes from photography.
Yeah,
and some of it comes from music. But I work as a photographer doing the usual studio things, weddings, corporates, and I also make commercials to local businesses in Norway. So I make most of my money through video making, actually.
Oh, right.
And some through photography.
Okay.
And landscape photography is my passion. That's what I do whenever I got the time. When I'm not doing music or working, I go out and try to hike and shoot landscapes.
Yeah.
So that's what I enjoy most of all. But let's face it, I'm not getting rich doing landscape photography or YouTube.
Not yet. You're working on it. No, it was fit. I remember the first video I ever saw, and I had to think about this last night and doing a bit of my homework. I was thinking, how the hell did I find you on YouTube? And I remember now, it was the how do you pronounce it? The Slider One.
All right.
Edelkrone Slider One, yeah.
Yeah, my one and only review.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
There you go. So I was looking at buying one, and I was just going through YouTube looking one after the other. Slider review. I see this picture of this guy with this 80s hair and this headband and everything, and I mean, I got to admit, I was captivated straight away by the accent. I thought, I'll just keep watching. And there's this. Do you remember that video? Because there's one part where, and you, I don't think you've seen it.
No.
Yeah, he has the Slider One. For those listening, a slider is like a film device where you would attach your camera to it, and you can either have ones that you move with your hands, or in this case, it's a motorized one. You pre-program the movement, and you start recording, and then the camera moves, but it moves seamlessly and perfect. So I was in the market to buy one of these. Yeah, it's a big thing.
They're really handy.
It's real heavy, man. I've hiked with it twice, and it's ridiculous.
That's the exact one you got, right?
Yeah.
Did you buy it?
Yeah, I bought it.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So thanks, man. I bought it after your review. I thought, will I grow hair like that if I buy this? So I love it. I absolutely love it. But it's big. Anyway, there's one particular scene. I remember, usually I'm on YouTube late at night, and you're holding it and you say, it's not big, it's a really good size, it'll even fit in your camera bag, but then you held up this cooking pot and put it in cooking pot.
That's your camera bag.
I didn't have a camera bag.
But it was flawless. It wasn't even, you just kept on moving, and I thought, oh, what just happened? And I rewinded and watched it again. I remember that. I started laughing so hard, and I just thought, all right, I'm watching the whole thing now. And then I started going down the rabbit hole, just clicking on all your videos and laughing my head off. And I remember, if you go back to that Slider One, and my original comment is in there, and it's something like, I repeated your comment, and then I said, you're crazy and you're mental, but you got a subscriber. That was it.
I'm really glad that review contributed to this.
Yeah, exactly. It's come full circle. Me too. Like as soon as I started watching more and more, I think now correct me if I'm wrong. I think I came in your filmmaking, in your adventure filmmaking. I can't
at the very beginning. Yes,
it feels like it. It feels like it was.
Yeah,
right
it was
start.
definitely.
Yeah, it was
because
very.
That review was one of my first films, actually.
Right.
That I made for YouTube, and strangely enough, it's one of the most viewed. People love reviews.
We find exactly the same thing. We bust our ass hiking for 3 days through the wilderness, and we're crying and stuff, and in the rain, and then we film it all and spend 3 weeks editing it and put it out, and we get 65 views.
Yeah.
And we put a review on of something and it gets like 28,000 views. I mean, that's just life, right?
My first video of, I think it was you, Tom. You hiked with your dad. I think that was my first video from you.
Oh, was that the canoe trip?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I think
Yeah.
it was a 2-part
that's
episode,
right.
I think.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, that was cool.
that was good fun. Somebody was just asking me about that today, actually.
Yeah, no, Tom gave me the heads up just this week, so I've been frantically catching up on your videos, mate, and I have been very impressed. I see your love for photography, and I'm really intrigued. I love photography too, and I can just see though that your love for adventures there, mate, and I think that's very nice. So yeah, all those adventures.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the adventure videos are cool, mate.
Yeah, I've been kind of I've been kind of hesitant of going on longer trips, tenting and stuff like that, because I didn't have a lot of experience with it, at least doing it alone, if you know what I mean. And it came to a point where I just thought, yeah, just got to do it. And after I did it, it was no problem at all. It was just fun.
Hey, I know a couple of guys who do a little bit of hiking if you ever need any advice.
Ah.
I do, actually. I do. I have a tendency to overpack.
Oh, right, yeah. We deliberately became ultralight hikers so that we could still carry the weight of the cameras and all the tripods.
Yeah.
You'll be the same.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I noticed that I was watching a video last night. No, it was the night before, and it was the first time I've ever seen you with a camp set up.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I don't think I've ever seen that before. So it feels to me like a natural progression.
It is, because that's what I aim to do for a long time, because my main inspiration is a Norwegian adventurer and explorer called Lars Monsen.
Okay.
And he started vlogging before that was a word. He had his own TV show in Norway.
Oh,
where
right.
he crossed Canada with just him and a dog and a camera, and there were bears, and he was just a real adventurer. And I always wanted to kind of not go all the way like he does, because I'm not there yet. Yeah. But I wanted to kind of go on longer trips using tent, gathering my own food, and do that combined with photography.
Right.
If that makes any sense. More, like you do, I think.
Yeah.
And I've started doing small trips now, and I'm going to gradually progress doing longer trips. And my main goal before the summer ends is to do, I think I plan to do 5 days.
Right.
In a row.
Oh, wow. That's a good length.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
But I may bring my brother, because he's a tad more experienced.
Okay.
when it comes to catch fish, because that's a skill I need to learn.
Yeah. You were talking about that in the video. You were saying I didn't bring a fishing pole.
Yeah.
See,
Every time I've been
I just jumped into some of your recent stuff where you're obviously out there camping and cooking eggs out on the trail and stuff, and I thought, wow, he's made it look pretty natural, man. It looks like you enjoy that. So yeah,
I do enjoy it. It's movie magic.
Yeah.
No, I usually bring some eggs with me because I love eggs. I love to make eggs in the wild. It's one of my favorite things.
Awesome.
Yeah. I actually started just with food thinking, I just keep it as simple and as lightweight as possible. But now I've just started taking eggs and stuff because they are excellent out on the trail. So I was impressed.
Yeah. Have you got one of those little egg containers?
Yeah, I do.
I've seen them, but I'm just rolling it in paper now and crossing my fingers.
Yeah. So there's these little, it looks like a miniature egg carton with just 4 eggs. And
Yeah, those plastic
it's a
things.
hard
Yeah,
case,
yeah.
yeah. And you put the 4 eggs in, and
Yeah, they're
I've
nice.
traveled with them, and they're awesome.
I need one of those.
Yeah, you do.
Then they can't break.
Yeah, that's right, with all that camera gear and stuff. Oh, that's awesome. Now we have to talk about one of the most important topics. We have to talk about the hair. I can't let it go. You just told me at the start of this podcast that you've got a haircut, and I
did.
I'm not seeing it. What does that mean? Was it just the
I'm going
ends?
to take off my headphones.
Okay,
So
okay.
I can't hear you, but I'm going to show the hair.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
he's doing a pose for us. I see what's happening. Yeah, right.
cool.
Okay. The headphones made it look like you still had the full fro, but now it's kind of
The thing was, I was having a trip with my dad a couple of weeks ago. I think 2 weeks
I saw
ago.
that.
and
Awesome. Oh, you mean the one that you filmed?
Yeah, I haven't edited that one yet. It's a waterfall in Norway. We went to see it.
Okay. Sorry, I'm thinking of the glacier, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. We went to the base of the waterfall, and we got really, really wet. And I filmed me and my dad like kind of doing a selfie. And when I got back and I reviewed the footage, I looked like a troll. It was so large.
Yeah.
And I thought something needs to happen. So, and my wife agreed, and we went to a hairdresser, and I got a haircut. But I think she took a bit more than she needs to, but it will grow back.
Eric's can grow back. It's all good. Yeah. The wife's happy. You're happy. It'll grow back.
I'm happy.
Yeah, happy-ish. Okay. Sort of. Oh, that's awesome. That was one of the first things I remember saying, what? This guy's got the best hair ever.
Thank you.
Oh, no. It's all credit where credit is due. I wanted to... Well, in which order shall I do this? I wanted to say that... last night I was watching... Let me try a little bit of my language again. I was checking out the video you did of the Solseler. How's that for?
Oh yeah,
Is that good?
that's not bad.
Oh,
That's
thanks,
not
mate.
bad.
Yeah. Now, for all of you people who don't speak the language that we share, that means sun pillar. Am I correct?
That's correct. Or solar pillar.
Solar pillar. Yeah, I was going to say that too. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a sun pillar. It's I think they use both terms.
Yeah. What causes that anomaly? Is that something to do with your proximity to that part of the world? I don't recall really seeing that where we are.
Actually, I saw that one. That was incredible. That was a great photo.
It's something.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, a great photo as well.
To be honest, thank you, Tom. To be honest, I'm not sure what causes it. I think it's a more I think it's. I know they're a lot more common during the cold periods.
Uh-huh.
Because I think kind of the when the sun sets, it catches the ice crystals in the air, kind of catches the sunbeam.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think so, but that,
refracting off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make much sense because it was in the middle of the summer when I photographed that image.
Right.
So I might be wrong, but the funny thing, in this video I released later today, actually, I feature another solar pillar, which happened 2 days after that last trip.
Right.
And that I took a time lapse from my porch, and that was huge. It was almost 3 times as large
Is that
as that
right?
one.
Do you have a photograph and film of that as well?
Yes, I do.
The one that came out today.
Yeah, it's coming out at 6:00 my time, so in the middle of the night for you guys.
Okay, awesome. By the time you guys are listening to this podcast, it'll be live, and I'll put a link. Yes. Yeah, I'll put a link to that in our show notes on the website, so people can kind of find all of these things that we're talking about.
I feature it right at the beginning. It looked like an afterburner from kind of a It was 3 times as high as the other one. It was one of the strangest things I've ever seen.
Wow, fantastic! Yeah, I liked that. There was something else you said in that video, and it really struck home with me. And I think it struck home with me more as well because I noticed that you were out there doing. You're kind of exerting yourself more than I've seen in some of the early videos. I guess because you were putting yourself right out in nature. You weren't next to the car anymore. You were days away from the car. And you said, let me get this right. You said, if you don't play the game, you're not going to win.
Yes, I remember that.
And you said that the context was kind of, you were going to hike up to the top of the ridge somewhere to see if you could get a particular shot. You weren't sure if the sun was going to rise there. Was that the sunrise or the sunset?
It was the sunrise.
The sunrise, yeah. So you weren't sure if you were going to get there, and I remember you saying, yeah, if you don't play the game, you're never going to win. And I thought, that is just, that applies to so many things, but it really does apply to photography, landscape photography in particular, and also just adventure in general.
I agree. I was so tired when I said that I didn't remember saying it. I'm profound when I'm sleep deprived. I remember that. It's very true.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not gonna get anything sleeping in the tent.
No, it's funny you should say that as well, because it really resonated with me, because there's 2 things, and Craig will be sick of hearing these, because when we're doing it tough or we're thinking of going somewhere or doing something, I always use a couple of phrases, and one is, I'm sure he's sick of hearing, is fortune favors the brave.
That's
similar thing again. And then the other thing, which I say to some people who kind of ask me, why do you hike for 3 days and do these ridiculous things? And I say, well, nobody ever had the adventure of their life while I was sitting on their couch.
That is true.
Yeah. So they're the kind of things that I live by. And when I heard you say that, it was pretty much just the same thing. And I thought, yeah, nice one.
Thank you. Sorry, I
heaps of effort goes into your days when you're out there on the trail, man. Like you're vlogging at the same time and getting.
Yeah, we know how hard that is, and I guarantee you, people don't know how hard it is.
It's hard,
because if they did, they'd watch it with a lot more passion. Which is the way I watch it. Is, wow, this guy's setting up a shot that he's been setting up for an hour while there's rain coming, and he's got to get back to his tent and do this, and he's trying to vlog. It's an epic amount of stuff that you're doing out there by yourself. It's awesome.
Thank you. I always joke that I have to climb the same mountain twice because I need to film myself going up.
We've done so many of those things, to get those. Yeah, it's exactly right. We've got plenty of footage of us walking back to the camera and just grabbing it in a bad mood.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I always think about when I'm out, because it's not always that kind of alluring thing to do, that you're really tired, your backpack is heavy, you need to climb up and you need to film it, but you really don't want to because you don't want to put down the backpack, put up the camera, put on the backpack, get up, get back down, get the camera, pack down the camera again. But because you're tired, but at the same time, when you're tired, that's when things get interesting, because that's what's worth documenting a lot of the time when things aren't super good and you're filled with energy. It's when you're tired and when the weather is at its worst.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have the tendency kind of not to film when the conditions are at its worst because it's not easy.
But I have seen you say very similar things, and I've seen you go out in other videos on rainy days, and you go out there and you work hard. Sometimes you come back with a okay shot. Sometimes you come back with an awesome shot. But again, man, if you stay home on the couch, you're going to get 0 shots.
Yeah, like you said, either way, you're coming home with something.
Yeah.
Either it's an experience, a good experience. Even if it's a bad experience, it's still a good memory.
It's an experience.
Yeah.
you feel things. You feel cold. You smell things. You see things. It's, I mean, that's essentially our the way we came about documenting our adventures was quite the opposite. I'd say exactly the opposite of you, in that we had the adventures first, and then later on we thought, hey, I might just start filming this. Well, that'd be cool to have some footage of this just in case I want to watch it later. And the very first video that I did, it was just a half-day hike by myself. I filmed it and I had no idea. I didn't know why I was filming it. It was just an exercise in, I just want to document this. And then when I did my first canoe trip, so I went to exactly the same place as the one you're talking about, where I went with my father. I did a few years before that. I did that by myself. And there's a video of that as well. And I filmed that. And again, I wasn't setting out to make those videos. I just wanted to capture everything. And later on, when I looked at the footage, I thought, there's something here that I want to share. And I'm glad I did. They're my first videos, and they're not my best videos, but they're still telling a story there.
I will watch that video after
cool.
this podcast.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Do you have any questions, Craig?
Oh, mate, I want to know heaps about Norway.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's on the list.
No, it's not, but go for it.
Oh, so beautiful. How's it like living in Norway, man? Like,
it is fantastic. It's not as cold as you'd think. A lot of people think it's really, really cold.
It's part of New Zealand, right? No, I do know where it is. Do they have the dangerous animals, or do they have? They probably don't have any snakes or spiders.
Do you have snakes?
We have one snake, but it's like not
actually just one snake in the whole one physical snake.
We share him around.
One snake, and it's huge.
Right, it's the mythology.
It's called it's more a viper, I think.
Right, that's not cool.
It's poisonous, but it's not dangerous. It's called hoggorm in Norwegian. It's kind of a hog means kind of
strike.
It's just strike worm.
It's the strike worm.
Strike worm.
That's the only poisonous we have. And on the island where I live, there are actually a good amount of it. So I almost see it every time I'm out during the summer.
Hang on.
But they're really scared of humans. So I usually see them scurrying away.
Yeah. Are they scared of humans in general, or are they scared when they see you?
That's up for debate.
I just imagine this aura as you kind of stand on a rock with your camera, and there's this aura, and the snakes just go, holy shit, I'm out of here.
But that water...
We also have...
Oh, go on. What else do you have there that's dangerous? Any like bears or anything? No.
We have bears, not a whole lot, but not in the area where I live. You have to go further inland, and there we have wolves and bears. Yeah. And lynx.
Hang on, what type of bear are we talking? Brown or
brown bear?
Brown bear. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
So I never seen a brown bear I hope to do one day.
Yeah.
They're also quite afraid. You usually see them way off in the distance running away.
They've already smelt you or heard the
Yeah.
noise and taken off. Yeah. Now you were hoping for an encounter with the polar bear. Is that correct?
I did when I was on Svalbard.
Yep.
Svalbard, for those of you who don't know, it's a archipelago, group of islands, which is under Norwegian law, but it's not Norwegian.
Oh wow!
But they're actually part of no country, so anybody can kind of apply to mine there or live there, but you're not part of any land, but you're under Norwegian laws and rule. So I went there with my father 2 months ago, and they have 3 types of land animals on Svalbard. You have the polar bear, the Arctic reindeer, and the Arctic fox.
Yep.
And we were really hoping to catch a glimpse of a polar bear. And on day 2, our guide, a friend of mine who works there on the airport, he got a text message saying that there was a polar bear near a glacier. So we hopped on our snowmobiles and we drove there the next day, and we were met by it's called Sysselmannen in Norwegian. It's kind of the local authorities, but
right.
It's not cops.
Yeah.
But they act like almost like a sheriff.
I was going to say sheriff or a ranger or something like that.
Yeah. Ranger. That's more like it. And they said that there were 3 polar bears in the area, and one of them had been chasing a snowmobile. So they were, and that's not normal. So they thought that particular bear was getting a bit too
a bit too
chummy,
a bit too comfortable with humans, and right, yep.
Because usually they don't want nothing to do with it. So they were really worried about that area. So they considered closing it down, and the next day they actually did close it down. But we never saw the bears, but they saw it the next day and the day after, and our guide saw it the next day after me and my father went home. So they were in the area, but we never saw them. And
that's a bit disappointing. I know you were, I could tell by the film that you made that you were really looking forward to that.
I was, and when I got back, I was zooming in on every video clip just to see if I could see
if it was in the background.
I had missed it.
Yeah. Well, that was a good trip. That was a
lot of fun, that trip.
That was a extraordinary video. It was it had a lot of. That has to be one of the ones where I really saw this almost like a structured kind of a cinematic approach. It was like I felt a change in that it almost seemed like you went to get a story and you went to construct a beautiful story and a journey, and that really came through in that film. And there was highs and lows, and it felt like drama. You said before that you can't have experience without lows and all that sort of stuff. And I think that not seeing the bear was maybe not what you wanted, but it was an experience, right?
Yeah, and I was really, really close. It's funny because before I went to Svalbard, I made a decision that, all right, this time, of course, I'm going to focus on the images, but my first and foremost wish is to construct a story.
Yep.
And I signed up to what's called Epidemic Sound right when I got back home, because I knew I wanted music that's a bit more cinematic, as you said.
Yeah.
So I made a choice, and I made a subscription, and I found kind of cinematic, adventurous, almost like movie music.
Yeah.
And I used that in...
it fitted perfectly. I mean, that's what it needed. You can't have that landscape and not that music. It was the music was as grand as the landscape. It was really cool.
Yeah, but I thought I love David Attenborough. And I think I've seen everything. And just finished Blue Planet 2, and the music they use, especially in Planet Earth and Blue Planet, are really orchestral. I think it's Hans Zimmer who has the music.
Right.
Maybe I may be wrong, but it's so big, and I kind of wanted the same thing.
Yeah.
So, and I think it worked as well.
It definitely worked. And like I said, I saw a different approach in the storytelling, and which I was really happy to see, because I know your passion might be the photography side of things, but when I'm watching, I kind of fall in love with this character, like this quirky guy who's, yes, of course I'm interested in the photography, but you know, there's the things that happen on those journeys that make me laugh, and that's what kind of keeps me, you know, addicted to the films, if you know what I mean.
Thank you. Before I went to Svalbard, I was kind of nervous because it was my first trip, which was kind of dedicated to this, if you know what I mean. First trip abroad. And my father was with us and our guide, so I had to do this in front of people as well. I'm not that comfortable filming and talking in front of other people, so I was kind of nervous how this will work.
Yeah.
But luckily
you nailed it. You could tell you were comfortable after a while. You just nailed it. It was really cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I love your dad makes a little appearance there, sitting at the table.
He's great.
A man of few words. It was pretty funny though.
He's a character. And he's a very good photographer as well.
Is that right? Oh, tell him I said hi.
I will.
No, he seems like a good bloke. He seems like a good laugh too. I can see where you get it from.
He's a spontaneous man.
Right.
So I've been watching the latest waterfall shots and the videos about some of your trips to the waterfalls, and I can't believe how clear and blue and sort of iridescent the water is. Like, we have waterfalls that have like probably a darker bottom it's just incredible, and it must be freezing, right?
Freezing?
The water really cold.
It's meltwater from the glaciers and snow.
Yeah,
usually
that could probably be cold.
I reckon that would be cold.
It's freezing.
Can you drink it? Like, do you drink it? And do you have to sterilize it?
No,
just straight.
We're really lucky in that regards. It tastes so good.
Yeah.
The mountain water, the melt water. It's.
But I guess you can't go swimming that often.
I have bathed on tours, but it's really cold. It's freezing. It's maybe 5-6 degrees at the higher up you come. It's almost 0 degrees.
It looks like
Celsius.
Oh yeah.
But at this time of year, especially May, that's when the snow starts to melt and the glaciers. So
I see.
It's a lot more water.
I see. Right. Yeah, that was a lot of water.
Yeah.
I was watching those too. That was massive.
Yeah.
Did you say 250 meters or something of waterfalls? Is that right?
The largest waterfalls, like in the world,
think you said,
like incredible.
I think you said that from the bottom to the top or something was 250 meters.
Yeah, which waterfall was that? The last one? No, the Langfoss.
Ooh, it was kind of a double. It was like a double falls. It was the same episode where you. The largest one in Norway. It's almost. I think it's 700 meters. What?
I think. But that's not
crazy.
It's not a free fall waterfall.
I can understand. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a. Some people calling a wedding whale, like when the bride's whale. It kind of goes
it
along
goes,
the mountainside.
Okay.
So in my first episode of the waterfall series, I visited Langfoss, and that's 652 meters high.
Wow.
And that's also a kind of a long along the mountainside waterfall.
Right.
Yeah, that's the sixth highest waterfall in Norway. That first one.
Wow.
Jeez.
And
Awesome.
I'm gonna visit the longest as well, but I think that I'll save that for season 2 of the waterfall.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Oh, I really want to. There's a couple of things from that. Glacier trip. One was, I know you had company and everything, but there was one particular instance where that snowmobile broke down. Do you remember?
Yes.
That? Yeah.
That was in the beginning before we headed out.
Oh, was that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember that, and then when you went out so far from civilization, or so far from the township, I was thinking, if that was me and the snowmobile had already broken down, I would kind of be, I'd be a little bit concerned about being that far in those kind of conditions. Was any of that entering your mind, or were you quite comfortable in that environment?
Yeah, if that was me alone, that would worry me, and I don't think I would head out before I was certain that this was fixed.
Yeah.
But there are no cell phone coverage out there.
Yeah,
in the
I
wild.
That. Yeah.
But we have what do you call it? A satellite phone.
Yep.
But not a phone, but kind of a GPS tracker.
Oh, okay.
And it has an emergency
button. Yeah, and they can locate you. Yep. Yeah, we've got one of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there are because the wilderness is kind of like the main road on Svalbard during the snow period, because everybody has a snowmobile and they drive. You often see other people on snowmobiles.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. So of course, some areas are more populated than others in terms of traffic. But usually, if you stick to the main routes, so to speak, you're bound to see another snowmobile at least every 20 minutes.
Oh wow! Okay.
So if it should break down and you're staying on the normal routes, you're bound to find someone sooner or later.
Right. Yeah.
Unless it's night, but you're not allowed to go out in the wild if you're not carrying a firearm.
Right.
Because of the polar bear.
Yeah. Yep. I think you mentioned that. Yeah.
So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that the other guy that you were with had the rifle or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a shotgun.
Shotgun, that's right, on the snowmobile. Yeah.
Mm.
And last week, actually, because the main city is called Longyearbyen, and there was a polar bear last week that swam across the fjord and towards Longyearbyen.
Oh wow!
So the rangers had to go down to the shore and chase it
scare
away.
it off. Put a few warning shots.
He wanted a night out on the town.
Yeah, right. Get some snacks.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's what happens when we try and put ourselves in amongst nature. I think it's not really the bear's fault, you know.
No.
Yeah. There's this absolutely spectacular photo of inside that glacier that you took. You had a head torch, I believe, lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to? There's a couple two points here. Is you want to talk us through, like, for those who haven't seen the video, you just arrived to this stick in the snow, which marked this little hole. And then you guys just started disappearing down this.
Yes.
That was, I mean, I'd imagine there's a level of danger there.
I suppose so, but I think it looks more dangerous than it actually is.
Well filmed. Good job.
Yeah.
But it was perfect conditions, I thought, for that story, because it came the conditions turn into what they call a whiteout.
Yeah. Yep.
The visibility is absolutely zero, and there's a blizzard, and you just see snow. And our guide, first he took a wrong turn, and he couldn't find the sticks because it was impossible to see.
Oh, wow.
And after a while, he located the sticks, and it had snowed shut. So he started digging in the snow, and I didn't know that this was the entrance, because I thought it was, when he told me we were going underneath a glacier,
Yeah.
I thought it more like a bit more touristy.
Like a big sign,
bit more
and
organized.
some kind of a gate, somewhere to pay your money.
Yeah, here's my ticket. And he just
What did you
went
think he was
down.
doing, digging in the ground?
And I thought, is this it? And then I just saw him disappear, head down first and feet up and the shotgun hanging. And
It looked so dark in there. It looked like
it was
that
pitch
light
black.
did not exist, right?
It did not exist at all. And outside the wind was howling, and we went down, and when we got down there, it was dead quiet.
Yeah.
And completely dark. And I thought, how am I going to find the composition? Because you can't see anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had to, I think I spent 45 minutes on the first image,
Wow.
and my guide went nuts.
Yeah, you mentioned that a few times in the,
Get on
in the
with
film. Oh, let's take a picture. Give it to me. Click, click, click.
He was really patient. I told him I need to figure this out.
Yeah.
Because first I needed to find the composition, and
Yeah.
That was, you can't see anything through the viewfinder.
Absolutely.
So you have to take the image and see, okay, I need to adjust a bit.
Yep.
And I take another one and adjust accordingly and find the focus.
Yeah.
After I was happy with the composition, I started using my torch to kind of draw the light
Yep. Paint it in. Yep.
on the parts I wanted highlighted.
Yep.
So I think I did an 8-second exposure and just hit the button, and I painted the lines with the torch, and it worked really well.
It did.
It was.
That's a spectacular
Surprised.
image. I'm surprised that image is not printed and hanging on the wall behind you or something.
Yeah.
It will be at some point.
Yeah.
I think 2 images from underneath that glacier will feature in my exhibition later this year.
Oh, fantastic. That's great.
I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to seeing them big.
It was the colors of that blue, the depth. It was incredible. It was like a kind of a jewel or something. And yeah, the way that you lit that was beautifully done.
Thank you. It looks like something. One of the guys in the comment section wrote, "This looks like straight out of an alien movie."
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like
It doesn't look like Earth.
planet Earth.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah, it is another world. It was well done on the patience. I think that I'm learning very, very slowly that taking an extra few minutes. Now, I can't say I've ever spent 45 minutes on an image, because I'm usually at the same time I'm trying to get somewhere, right? But I have a massive appreciation for it, and recently I've forced myself to slow down and spend at least a few minutes to find that composition that you speak of. I didn't realize it was a thing. I would look at a scene and say, I'm looking through my eyes and that's a beautiful scene. So I just hold the camera up and I take a picture of the beautiful scene. It's not until you compare your images to other landscape photographers and think there's something fundamentally missing in the story I'm trying to tell. And I think that comes from composition. Would you agree?
Yes, I do agree. I have a few questions that I ask myself before I ask them in my head before I take each image. It's like I see a scene and I ask myself, what is it about this scene that I like? And if it's and the other question is, what can I do to enhance it?
Yep.
So what needs to be in the image and what can go away?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a tree I like, and then I probably don't need the whole scene unless you want to show that tree alone.
Right.
Kind of, which is
a different composition, a different story as well.
Yeah, and like you say, how can I enhance the story behind the image? What do I need to keep? What can go? And let's say it's a tree, and you just want the tree, and it's probably what I've had thinking then is maybe kind of blur the background so the tree kind of sticks more out.
Yep.
So then I would kind of go back from a distance and zoom in. But if I wanted a total of the scene, I would probably be closer actually and go with a wide angle lens.
Right.
So it's basically asking questions. What do I like about it, and how can I improve on that? If that makes sense.
No, it does. It makes a lot of sense, and you've led perfectly into something I was going to ask you anyway, which was basically to impart knowledge like that. Which I think there's a bunch of hikers out there that carry cameras, and even in my close network of friends. Some new people that I've started taking out hiking lately have, sort of asking me questions about, I really need to pick your brain about this, and I can only take them an extra 5% beyond where they are. And then when I see someone like yourself saying, I spent 45 minutes to set up an image, I feel so guilty because the longest I think I've probably spent 10 to 15 minutes or something. And for me, that's about 15 times longer than I've ever spent. But I must say the results are 15 times better. I like they're much better than I used to get. And it's what you're talking about there is a thought process, and I love that because that's real knowledge that listeners can take and apply straight away tomorrow.
Yeah, that truthfully, I do not usually take 45 minutes on an image. It was a new situation for me in the pitch dark.
Oh yeah,
so
okay, doing everything in the dark.
Yeah, I had to learn the process behind that particular image. Afterwards, I had taken that first image. I spent maybe approximately between 5 and 10 minutes on the other images. So the first image took a long time.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I was. I've bought a new camera. When did I get that? At the start of the year, end of last year. Must have been end of sometime last year. I upgraded my camera, and one of the things I wanted to tackle was astrophotography, and hearing you talk about that exact situation is it reminds me of my first couple attempts at that. Is set it up for 15-20 minutes, take a photo, it's wrong, adjust it, take a photo, it's wrong, adjust it, take a photo. And
it's trial and error.
It is, because as you say, you can't see what you're doing, you can't see your subject, and also we're making assumptions about exposure at the time, and we only really know how close our guess was until we review the image, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've tried astrophotography a lot of times, and I've never been happy with my results. So that's.
I think I'm happy because I just keep the bar really low. Like anything I do, wow, that's really good for me.
It's hard.
I think tutorials on astrophotography is something I've seen a lot of, but I never kind of grasp it because every photographer has a different approach to astrophotography.
Yeah, they do.
So when I get out in the night and I try, and I have this sheet where I've written down every tip.
Yeah, I tried doing that as well. I tried in my phone. I had all these. Make sure you put it on f-stop, blah blah blah, and I did everything, and that's not that good. So I spent another maybe an hour to get what would maybe 3 average shots. But I didn't give up, and I keep trying. And 2 weekends ago, I did some more, and I was much happier with the stuff I'm getting. So yeah, you just got to keep doing it, right?
It's hard, but that new camera of yours must be a fair bit better, right? Heaps better.
Yeah, so I've gone to the Sony A7S.
Oh, that's a really good low light camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is because I was getting fed up with some of our footage we film a lot in rainforest, so very thick vegetation, and it gets quite dark even through the middle of the day. And I get home, and when I see the footage on the full screen, sometimes it's grainy, and I just get so angry because you can't see it through the viewfinder, and you can't see it on the back. And it was the first time I ever felt like my camera was holding me back, and so I invested in the Sony, and immediately the results are there immediately, and I'm really happy.
Yeah, I've seen some footage from that camera. It's miles ahead.
Yeah,
in the low light department.
I need that advantage.
Cheating.
To get the best gear possible.
It's always much darker in forest than you actually think it is.
Yeah, once your eyes adjust, doesn't mean that your camera's adjusted.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Especially if you add some cloud cover and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll get some of those starscape shots up, and I'll tag you and Instagram.
Yeah, I would love to see them.
At least see where I'm heading. You can you'll see a natural progression of gradual improvement, I think. But we mucked around that time. Remember I got you to have the head torch on, and you shone it up on the trees. I kind of did a long exposure on that. That little photo's in there, but that's one of the early trials. But the most recent ones, I was lucky enough to take a photo of this cabin, and in the background was the actual Milky Way. It was just pure luck. I just happened to be there at the right time. I did not know what to look at, but I looked out one direction and thought, oh yeah, that's pretty. And then I turned around and looked up behind me and just went, oh my God, that's the Milky Way. It's right there. So it was very lucky, and I can't take any credit for that, but I did capture it in some shape or form. So yeah, look out for that one.
Sweet.
I look forward to it.
Awesome. Hey, on that same topic, is there kind of cast your mind back to when you were, as we've just talked about, we're going through these constant struggles to improve our, even where you're at now, it sounds like you're always trying to improve, and I know I am, albeit much further behind you. I'm still making those incremental improvements. If you cast your mind way back to when you were just starting to walk out into nature and try your hand at landscape photography, is there any points that was really useful, the composition tips you gave us before? Are there any other points like that you think, I wish someone said do ABC on every shot? Is there any nuggets of wisdom that you're hiding from us that some listeners might like? Secretly, I want them to.
That's a good question. That is a good question. There are a lot of things, and I thought about this because some time ago, I kind of dabbled with the idea of making a kind of a video discussing tips that I've learned from starting to now.
Yep.
But I postponed it. But the first thing that comes to mind is that I thought settings mattered a whole lot more than they actually do. When I first started, I was terrified getting my settings wrong. Mm-hmm. Like every image I saw, I had to look. All right, he had ISO 100, f11, 250 of a second. I need to write this down so I can achieve the same things. And after a while, you realize that it actually doesn't matter as much. Yeah, as much as you think, because it's almost always the same settings you use. You kind of adjust the shutter speed according to the light. Yep. The f-stop is usually around f9, f11, and it depends on the look, of course, but it doesn't matter as much as I initially thought when starting. And
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I'm rubbish at even thinking about the numbers. I just
takes a bit of the pressure off.
It does. Yeah, I'm glad you say that. So for me, it is more of that trial and error and reviewing and saying, well, I want to see more of this. I want to see less of this. I want to be closer. I want to be further away. And at the end of the day, when I take my photos back home to grade, I don't care what it says. I don't care what f-stop it was. Is it a good image or isn't it a good image? That's all I really care about.
Exactly. It's a trial and error, and it's the only way to learn. And of course, it's beneficial to know what the f number does, how it affects the focus range, and kind of what the ISO does, and what the shutter speed does. It's important to know, but it's not important to have to kind of be fixated on only that, because because the main thing is the image and what you're trying to tell by that particular image. Yeah. And the images that I have taken that I really like are usually the ones that doesn't necessarily feature the best light or perfect setting. It's just kind of being at the right time at that right place, and it's like something that happens right then and there, and you manage to capture it. It's almost like going on a hunt, and except you don't carry a rifle. Unless you're on Svalbard, you carry a you carry a fotoapparat.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Essentially, you're trying to almost test yourself against nature and see if you can miraculously be in the right location at the right time of day to capture the correct light, and then maybe accidentally have those settings in the right place as well to grab that image. I think there's a very small window, and I don't think many people appreciate how small a window there is with early mornings and late afternoons.
Yeah, and in the beginning, I stressed during the sunrise, especially because it's you have maybe 50 minutes and 15 of good lights, and in the beginning, I really stressed each sunrise. Like, I need to capture this, I need to set up, and as time goes, you learn to relax more and just go for one image instead of 50 variations of the same image.
Yeah.
And that's
good advice too.
Yeah, maybe it is.
You must be tired. No. You're getting very profound again.
Well, so a couple of things I've picked up that I'd love your comments on. probably about tripod is a necessity. You can't leave home without one for landscape photography. So I realised that pretty early on. I think that's a no-brainer. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree. Because using a tripod, that first thing, it guarantees a stable image, no matter the shutter speed. So if you really want kind of to have the scene shot without bumping up the ISO, and it's a low light situation, you need a tripod.
Yep.
Like the glacier image we talked about, it couldn't have been done without a tripod. It was absolutely
100%.
no way.
Yeah. Yep.
So tripod is the most essential equipment you can bring.
Yep.
It also helps with the composition, I think.
Right. Explain that philosophy.
I'll try. I find that putting the camera on a tripod kind of it allows you to step back and see on the viewfinder, for example, and it allows you to kind of not be in that sense all the time.
Okay.
It allows you to kind of put it there and think about it from a distance, and then go and tweak it and adjust it.
Right.
And for me, I find that it really helps kind of excluding that, because it's perfectly still. You can zoom in and you can step back and think, all right, I prefer this. Maybe if I tune a bit that way, it kind of it helps you to relax, I think.
Okay. Oh, it sounds to me like you almost can slow down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with the use of if you use ND grad filters and stuff like that.
Yep.
It helps to make it more of a process.
Right.
And it allows you to think more of the actions you're choosing to do, because it's kind of a more commitment to put on the filter holder, and it's more of a process.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, that's interesting.
And you always seem to, a lot of times, seem to do a sort of a HDR image, which I've never gone to that extent, and I can see the value in it.
Are you a fan of things like focus stacking and stuff like that?
I've not used focus stacking as much. I did it. I've done it once in my videos, for my videos.
Okay.
Because I had to try. I needed to try it out.
Yeah.
But I've used HDR on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
Because
something's dark and something's light. Is that,
yes,
like a sky and a foreground object. You can't use the same settings.
Exactly. Especially if you take an image against the sun.
Yep.
If you only take one image and you have to adjust everything for the sun, then everything else is going to be total dark.
Yep.
But if you're doing an HDR, it stands for high dynamic range. It allows you to keep the highlights not to burn out, and at the same time bumping up the shadow so you can see details as well.
Yep.
So you take two images or three,
or sometimes more. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty close, like on top of each other, and then you lay them in Lightroom as like a layer. Is that right, on top of each other, or is it called something else?
It's called it's a merge option in Lightroom. I usually stick to 3 photographs.
Are you working in Lightroom? Just out of curiosity.
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
I start in Lightroom, and sometimes I do final adjustments in Photoshop, but I'm not very good in Photoshop. Okay. But I know the basics.
Yeah, enough to get by with your work. Yeah, sure.
And if I don't know anything, I just YouTube it.
Sure. Yeah, I know what you mean. No, I've just literally got Lightroom on Sunday. I literally got it. Yeah. So I've been using Aperture. So it's I mean, look, I thought that, again, it was very similar to the camera situation. I thought that I'd never outgrow the camera, and I got to a point where it wasn't doing what I needed it to do. And then I felt the same with Aperture. It's an excellent program. I'd recommend, for the price, I would highly recommend that for anybody listening who's thinking, I don't think I want to sign up to Creative Cloud. I don't know if photography is for me. All of these sorts of things. It's a very small investment, much easier to use than Photoshop. But I just felt like it was time to, again, take that little leap and move up to what is probably, arguably, a very high industry standard product, right?
It's like I love Lightroom. I never used, what do you call it, Aperture?
Aperture, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I haven't tried that, but I'm sure it's most of the programs nowadays are fine. But I'm used to Lightroom, and I tend to stick to the things I know sometimes.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting I haven't even been on it a full week yet, so I'm just getting used to it. But I think another big tip that somebody gave me, I work with a lot of photographers and videographers, and I'm always trying to extract information from them. And this sounds silly, and you'll be horrified at this, but the switch from JPEGs to RAW was something that I didn't understand the complexity of or the power of. And once I did it and then went into an editing program and started to pull around the levels, that's when I realized the absolute beauty of the depth of information that you're capturing in RAW versus JPEG.
I remember that same feeling the first time I started working on a RAW file.
Yeah.
And then just for curiosity, I went back to JPEG and tried, and I just like, no, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
You don't forget your first RAW file.
No, no, she was a beauty. I can't remember her name.
Was good.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I have to ask now what's oh no, I have one more question before I get to that. Is there a short list of gear? I mean, Craig just touched on it then. The tripod's obviously one of your favorite pieces of gear. Is there another 2 or 3 items that you'd never leave the house without if you were going on one of your little expeditions? So I guess I'm talking about camera gear in particular.
Yeah. If it depends if you're interested in making a movie or just photographs.
Yep.
Of course.
Probably. Yeah. Hey, you're the expert in photographs, so I'm happy to hear that.
Let's do just photographs.
Let's do photographs. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You have a tripod. That's one thing I don't leave without, and I always bring 2 lenses at a minimum. Mm-hmm. And especially when I'm going on hikes, because you can't bring every lens you have. That would be that will work against you in the end. But I try to keep a really wide selection when it comes to zoom range.
Yeah. Because
I find if you're going in the mountains, especially, and you use a telephoto lens, that's really, really handy, because you can kind of choose your composition. Instead of just shooting a wide composition, you can go zoom in, and kind of hone in on these small scenes in the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I never leave home without a telephoto lens. And mine is 100 to 300 millimeter micro four third lens. So 2 lenses, one for the kind of the wide scene and one for going in.
Yep.
And pick out the smaller scenes. Also, I try not to leave without my filter gear.
Right. What sort of filter gear are you taking out? You mentioned before an ND filter.
Yes, I don't have a wide selection yet because they're quite expensive.
Yeah.
And as musicians, we make not so much money. But I have ND grad filter and also have a normal ND filter for
Right.
intense bright days.
Yeah.
And I have a stop filter, a super stopper, which is a 15 stop filter. It's almost pitch dark.
Yeah.
And it makes an ordinary, I think 500 of a second ordinary. I think that equals 30 seconds with that filter on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's way more than you'll ever need.
Yeah.
So in retrospect, if I could choose again, I would choose a 10 stop filter or a 5 stop filter. I wouldn't have gone to 15 stop.
Right.
But I've used it a lot. But if I could go back to the store and swap it, I would swap for a 10 stop, I think.
Okay.
But I enjoy using filters because it takes more time to set up. It's more like a craft.
Yeah.
And it gives you time to reflect on the image, because if it takes 2 seconds to take an image, then there's obviously not a lot of amount of thought that goes into it. But
and passion and creativity, perhaps.
But if you have to devote 10 minutes to it, then it needs to be worth devoting 10 minutes to, kind of.
No, there's a lot that you can reflect on that and say that is the same with many things in life in general. There's more and more options for us to take shortcuts, and then there's you choose when you want to. No, you're not going to get a reward from a short amount of input, right? Unless you're extremely lucky. This sounds completely off topic, but I've got a fireplace in my house, and I chop wood on the weekends, and people at work laugh at me and make jokes and everything and think it's funny. And but for me, it's a therapeutic process where I'm slowing down and taking the time to do this so that I can then do that, instead of just paying someone around the corner to come and dump some wood at my doorstep.
Or switch it on the aircon.
Yeah, or turn on the air conditioning. Yeah, exactly. So, and the enjoyment that I get when I finish all that work and I stack it up and then I take it inside and light the fire, it's a process. It's what you were saying before. There's a process to when you're using the filters, and for me that start to finish process, that particular thing is, I find the actual process is enjoyable. It's not just about the fire; it's about getting that done.
Yeah,
I agree.
I saw you use that big stop, or what you call the filter, that just lets you get the water blurring even when there's a lot of light around, so you can hold the shutter open that bit longer without it just blowing out. Like, we have to take those shots just on dusk to kind of get that water cascading, blurry shots that you're getting. But yeah, that thing's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it allows for a longer shutter speed during intense daylight. Sunlight.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Cool.
think that is a whole nother level of comprehension for. I mean, I'm definitely. Only now I can understand the theory, but whilst I do have a filter, I've never used it, because I think it's another step for me to get to. I think it's beyond where I'm comfortable at the moment. I remember
it's important to be. Yeah.
No, sorry. You go.
No, I was just going to say it's important to not do everything at once, because photography and all the equipment can be a lot overwhelming at first, because there are so many options you can do. It's like you said, you have to learn a little at a time.
Yeah, that's great advice right there too. That's really good advice. I think that people should listen to that. Don't do everything at once.
No.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, I remember when you were talking about lenses earlier, And I do the same thing now as I'll take 2 lenses on an outdoor adventure. I remember when I only had the one lens, and it was a zoom lens, 18 to 270 Tamron.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand, why would I need another lens? I can get close or I can zoom into something far away. And it wasn't until I was preparing for a massive 7-day hike in another state, like it's an actual island. Have you ever heard of Tasmania?
I do. I have.
Yes, it's a physical island that's down lower than Australia. And a friend of mine, as a surprise, he said, we caught up for a coffee and he gave me a wide-angle lens as a gift. Thanks, Nick, if you're listening. And when I took that lens on that trip, all of a sudden I understood why you need a wide-angle lens and why you need to carry 2 lenses. Up until that point, I didn't know what I was missing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you talked about your
yeah.
telephoto was great, and then is it the 60mm that you take with you as well that I saw on one of your videos?
Yeah, it's 12 to 60 millimeter.
12 to 60.
So
yeah.
So it's as probably like your first zoom lens you talked about.
Yeah.
Tom, it's kind of have a wide spectrum.
Yeah.
Wide zoom range, but 60 isn't enough if you want to photograph mountains really far away.
Yeah.
And also it's really good for wildlife as well, because you never know if you're gonna see a bear
or a viper.
Preferably you want to use your long lens on the bear instead.
Yeah. You don't want to get too close.
Hang on, I need to change to my wide angle.
I've only got my wide angle today. I'll have to get 2 meters away.
Here I come.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, awesome. Craig, do you have any other questions?
No.
I wanted to ask you, what is next for you? What's going through your head? What are you planning? I've seen you come so far, and I mean that in a very positive way. I've just seen this progression of the way that you're composing your films, and I've seen your subscribers just go through the roof, and for a good reason, but what is next? How can you keep topping these adventures?
That's a good question, because I'm wondering that myself. It's a constant thing in the back of my mind. Like after Svalbard, I was like, what can I do?
Yeah.
All right, I'll do waterfalls, and now I think I have 3 episodes now. 4 episodes left that I've somewhat filmed and planned for the waterfall season. And after that, I think it doesn't matter. I can say it now. My plan is to do glaciers, Norwegian glaciers.
Oh, wow.
So instead of running water, I'm going to call it solid water.
Oh, very good.
True. Wow.
That's my plan. But I'm not sure how that will work.
Was that an exclusive...
Sounds like
exclusive. You've just told the world that on this podcast.
I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. We're lucky. We're lucky.
Fantastic.
Now everyone's going to steal that idea. No.
They might not do it as well, though. Does everyone have that hair? I don't think so.
No.
I'm really curious about that, because I'm not allowed. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to walk on the glaciers on my own.
Oh, I see.
Without a guide, so I need to research that.
Right.
But at least I know I can get up close to them. And it's going to be interesting. So that's my plan after the waterfall season.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, you made a comment earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt at the time, but you said that you were on an island.
I am, yes.
Right. What sort of a size island are we talking?
It's... Ooh.
So if you drive from one side to the other?
Yeah, that will take you about 50 minutes.
50?
50.
50.
So Do you know the island Shetland?
No, I'm not. I should have done my research, right?
Shetland is in Scotland or outside Scotland.
Okay.
So it's my island called Karmøy. It's about the same size as the mainland on Shetland.
Right.
So it's quite populated. Around 50,000 people lives on that island. So it's quite big.
Yep. Oh wow, that is big.
Yeah.
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 So it's not a small island.
So it's, are you familiar with Guernsey?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it's an island between the UK and France, I think. But I think it sounds smaller than what you're talking about. If it takes 50 minutes, then that's
pretty big.
That's reasonable size, yeah.
Cool.
It has a gorgeous coastline.
Is that right?
So, yeah, I live in a house down by the sea. It's really nice. It's really nice.
Wow, that's great.
I used to live in Oslo, the main capital of Norway.
Yep.
Lived there for 10 years, doing music.
Yep.
And after a while, I just started feeling. It felt like it couldn't relax, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I needed to get it. I was fed up with the town.
Yep.
I wanted more space.
Was it after that you started landscape photography?
Yes.
And what do you think that was part of it? Do you think that was the catalyst? Is that what sparked you? Is that what put you on that journey?
I think so. Yes. I always liked photography. Right from I think I got my first camera from my father and mother on my 14th birthday, and I used to shoot a lot of film on that. It was a point and shoot camera.
Yeah,
going crazy. And I watched through my first roll of film the other day, and it was 95% mountains and flowers and clouds. So it was obviously I preferred.
Is that right? So it was already it was already there, but you rediscovered it later.
Yeah, and I put it away. I studied. I had 2 years in film school studying documentary filmmaking.
Okay.
That was when that was the main reason I moved to the capital. So, but after those 2 years, I left it and I started doing music, and I did music for 10 years, and I still do music, but I got this feeling that I really want to take photography up again. Like there was something that I missed, and I realized that living in a big city and wanting to do landscape photography without a car, could be a bit challenging. So it was not the only reason I moved from the big city. We moved, both me and Chasti, my wife. We moved because we wanted to move from the city out to the countryside,
right?
Which was a good decision.
Yeah,
hindsight.
Yeah, excellent. Does that put you physically closer to some of the locations that you like to photograph?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's the waterfalls are just a couple of hours of driving with the car, and but most of my videos are filmed on the island where I live.
Oh wow!
So there's a good amount of various nature.
Yep. Oh, fantastic! And when's the tour of Australia? When's that happening?
Pretty soon, I hope.
Oh, okay.
I'm really,
another exclusive piece of news.
Another exclusive. One thing that really fascinated me about Australia, I think I mentioned it to you in chat the other day. Like, I can't get over the fact how casually you're discussing all those snakes.
You did mention that, actually.
and spiders, because our spiders are like, okay, the really huge one are like this.
Yeah, about the size of what, a coin or something. Yeah. Yeah, we've.
It's
We do get some spiders.
But I figure if you're growing up with it, like you guys are, and then it's kind of it's getting part of your everyday life, probably, and you're kind of used to it.
It's most definitely when you're exposed to it, you're definitely going to have a tolerance. It doesn't take away the fact that there's particular snakes that if we see them, we automatically know to, like, that thing can kill you in 15 minutes. Let's get right away from it. Like, I've still got, I wouldn't say I just walk up to any old snake and, I mean, I do grab a lot of snakes, right? I do pat a lot of snakes. But I know what I'm touching. I don't just grab every single snake. It's only the pythons that they can still bite, and they could, they could get infected or something, but they don't have venom, and they could probably strangle you too. Some of them.
Yeah.
There's one particular video, and it's got a really cool title. Are you ready for this? It's called "Snakes on a Hike." Yeah, is
that one of your videos?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. It never.
I need to see that.
It never took off like a movie of a similar name. Didn't quite get the box office exposure I was hoping for, but it's a 2-part series, and I'm in the first part. So it's one day split into 2 videos, and I saw 3 enormous pythons on the same day within 2 kilometers of each other.
Really?
But yeah, it just must have been the season for them to just be out and about. And the first snake that I see is still to this day the biggest physical snake I have ever seen in or out of captivity ever. So not including television or YouTube, but in real life, I've been to zoos, places that have snakes. It is the biggest snake I've ever seen. It was an absolute freak. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that thing was huge, man.
It was, think about the size of your thigh. Okay, so the top part of your leg, that's the thickest part of its body. And its head was the size of a man's fist, like that. The head. And it was, so it got quite narrow, like probably much like your wrist. But then it just bulged out to the size of your leg. And it was an absolute freak. And I was filming it, and the whole time I was filming it, I was whispering, and I don't know why I was whispering. I was just kind of in awe going, oh, look at the size of this thing. Oh, my God, it's looking at me. And then later on I thought, what was I whispering? I don't understand. I was just literally in so much awe of this beast, and it knew I was there the entire time, and
didn't care.
Yeah, you got to see it. I mean, it was way back when I first started. It's not the greatest footage, not great cutting, all of that. But you take all of that away and you look at the size of the snake and watch it move. And I zoom in and get the color and everything. It is an absolute most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Yeah, you got to check that out.
I will. Snakes on a Hike.
Yeah, part 1 and 2.
Or come and see it in person.
Yeah, you can come over here and we can show you some stuff like that.
Oh, that would be great. I've only held one snake in my life, and that was in captivity.
Yep.
It was just muscle. It was a very weird experience. It's
so
all
strong,
muscle,
right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. We remember Craig. We were hiking at Lamington National Park, and it was this tiny snake. And at the moment, I'm holding my hands up like a foot long, 30 centimeters long, and it was just very slowly going over a rock. And I said to Craig, get the camera and film me. I'm just going to pick it up. And when I grabbed its tail, it just gripped the rock and it just took off so quick and it just slipped straight out of my hand. And I just got the biggest shock because
So strong.
it was so strong. I didn't lift it off the rock quick enough and it actually got traction. And I just turned to Craig and I said, well, that wasn't very good video of me missing a snake.
Yeah.
But it goes to show that even the tiniest snake is just a muscle with a spine. They're absolutely incredible. Yeah. Good times. Mate, it's been... hang on. Just before we go, just to be fair, do you have any questions for us before we wrap this up? You don't have
sure.
to.
What was your first proper hike that you really remember? Like this is the big leagues, if you know what I mean.
That's. I think there's two.
The first big adventure.
Well, it has to be the first one, doesn't it? That we did.
Yeah, that was...
Oh man, I don't want to repeat the whole story because I think we've talked about that on the first podcast. Yeah, the very first podcast, we go into full detail of that hike.
Oh.
Okay, so I won't bore everybody, but I will say, and it's a very long story, but I will point out some key points. And those key points would be that we did not know what we were doing. And so we carried too much gear.
Yeah.
Much like yourself. We were sleeping on the ground with little tarps over the top of us.
Yeah.
We got woken up on the final day by a bushfire coming towards our campsite.
Yeah.
And I just felt sick in the stomach and we ran up this out of this valley with all our gear, dragging it along and carrying it, and I almost threw up when I got to the top because of the exertion, but we got out safely.
Yeah.
It was a series of mistakes and uncomfortable situations, but at the end of the day, we kept coming back, right? So we did it again.
Yeah, that's where it all started. It was a real adventure. We kind of came away thinking, what did just happen for 3 days? Like we had completely stepped out of our normal comfort zones, and we didn't get so scared off as we probably should have, because here we are still doing it.
We're not the smartest guys in the world.
Well, maybe you are.
We're still standing, right?
Yeah.
So, that was it. Definitely go back and listen to the first podcast. I'm pretty sure we go through that in detail, but even
I don't think I've listened to that first one. I heard the two latest that I know of, because I was painting my house and I went through both.
Oh, okay.
Your podcasts.
Well, awesome.
It was perfect.
Oh, very good. Very good.
I had a chuckle at the story about the magazine. Magazine guy on the train. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was awesome. I still laugh about. I actually sent them a message the other day, and I still laugh about that. You mean when I was banging on the door of that cabin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who goes there? Yeah, that was embarrassing. Mate, look, I honestly feel like I could talk for hours and hours, but if we wrap this up now, I think we have a pretty good excuse to take it up again in the future, right?
Definitely.
I can speak.
I'm starting to get a bit hungry.
For sure.
It's lunchtime in Norway.
Oh, okay. Oh, of course it is. Yeah, we've interrupted lunch. Well, it's bedtime here.
Yeah.
But it's been absolute pleasure.
Likewise.
Would you like to pronounce your entire YouTube channel name, because I don't want to embarrass myself?
I can. My channel is called Oddbjorn Austevik Photo.
Right.
And that's photo means photo, of course.
Yeah.
It's not that different.
Well, what I'm going to do, as I always do, I mentioned at the start, I'm going to put these links in the show notes on our website, just for reference. All the videos we've spoke about, anything else I can think of, and because I don't expect anybody to know how to spell that, because I struggled when I was typing your name into Skype. I actually couldn't type that symbol, the O with the stroke through. I couldn't type it, so I couldn't search for you, so I had to put in your surname. Found it that way.
Figured. That's great.
All right.
Thanks heaps for your insights, mate, and chatting with us today. It's been...
Thank you for having me on your show. It's been a delight.
Pleasure. Yeah. Oddbjorn, all the way from Norway. You're a bloody legend, mate. You do some excellent work. I just can't wait to watch you progress in the future, and keep an eye on your travels, because they're enjoyable in many more ways than it's not just about learning great information on photography, man. There's so much more there. It's top fun. It's good. So everyone needs to check it out.
Thank you so much.
If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, we'd really appreciate your ratings and comments if you can spare the time. If you'd like to know more about HikeordieTV and keep track of our adventures around Australia, make sure you drop by Hikeordie.com. That's where you'll find all the information you'll need to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or Pinterest. As always, we appreciate your support. Thanks for listening.